Greetings and salutations. So I've had some interesting feedback on these videos. More for the fact I'm not letting loose enough. I should be the angry engineer. I don't know if I'm angry. I'm definitely pissy, kind of cranky, more than annoyed. But I get it. I'm known for my rants. The other thing I'm known for is I don't polish turds. I don't sugarcoat shit. I am looking for the right answer. And I present an entire picture, warts and all, good and bad. That being said, why am I ranting lots? Because I am sick and tired, as Red Foreman puts it, dumbasses. What are dumbasses? I'm not talking about the general public that doesn't know this. That's why I'm doing these videos, is to educate people. Dumbasses to me are politicians that are pushing an agenda from one side, that don't present a full picture. Special interest groups that have no interest in seeing both sides of the story. And especially celebrities, dumbasses like Leonardo DiCaprio that wouldn't know what Chinook is. All right? We deal with them every year, dumbass. Just because you're a movie star doesn't make you any smarter about the environment than anyone else. Anyways, what is this subject about? Today's subject is hydroelectric power. Now, most people, when you say hydroelectric power, what comes to mind is dam, Hoover Dam, W.C. Bennett Dam, which is a large civil structure that holds back water. Now, I'm not going to talk about how the floodlands impact and stuff like that. That's not, the CO2 that's generated by that is hard to calculate, not going to get into it. What I want to talk about is total energy envelope again. So, a civil structure like that, you've got to move millions of metric tons in dirt, soil, overburden, rocks, trees, you name it. That takes a lot of energy. Now, because these places are typically remote in Canada, and I'm going to talk about another technology that can make it less remote, but let's stick to dams for now. You've got to burn a lot of CO2, which gets me on another rant. Cement. You need cement to make concrete to put in these structures. My rant is this. While everybody was bitching and complaining about pipelines, and still bitching and complaining about pipelines, a cement plant was put into Quebec. My boss and I have known about this for years, and it's pissed us off, because now Environment Canada has admitted, I don't know if you'd say admitted, has now documented that cement plant is now the single largest source of emissions of pollution in Quebec. Let me think about that. Gee, a cement plant gets put through with minimal environmental regulations. It basically gets greased through. The company that's associated with is the Bombardier family, which our federal government handed millions of dollars out to bail them out. Do you think that smells like bullshit? It sure does to me. Anyways, my rant is after that is cement creates a lot of CO2. It's a pollution creator. So that's got to go into the dam. So starting off, the dam isn't looked pretty good when it comes to a total energy envelope. You got to put a lot of it in there. Now, once the dam's in place, the capacity factor for it is really good. Now, the efficiency of the turbine, just to make it simple, is not much different than a wind turbine. You can't take all the energy out of the water while it's flowing because it stops flowing. So there's a certain amount of limitation you have when it comes to the turbine. Water flows to the turbine, it spins the shaft, you make electricity. Woohoo! Now that you've got the big reservoir of water, you can feed the water in how you want. So it's got great amount of a capacity factor to it. Now, the other slight downfall to dams is typically in Canada, they're fairly remote. You got to put them away from the general public because, one, they create a massive lake, so you need the area for that. Which means you have to have very long transmission lines. Now, like you have when you push water through a pipe, there's pressure drop in the pipe. You got to have a pump. You have to put enough energy in the pump to make that water go. Well, it's kind of the same as electricity. There's losses in those cables when they go across, say, the province of BC from the W.C. Bennett Dam down to Vancouver. Using a rule of thumbs, I'm using Schneider Electric's paper and summary on it. You lose 8 to 15%. Well, I'll just say 10%. So of the inefficiencies that we have of creating that electricity, now we lose another 10% in those cables as they're going down the line. As my buddy in electrical engineering says, you also got to put up a lot of copper, which takes a lot of energy to make, heat and forging and everything else. So again, the total energy envelope of dam, not that great. Now, once it gets going, though, it really doesn't generate CO2. You're just kind of running water through a turbine. There's some CO2 when you do maintenance and stuff like that. Now, the other technology I want to talk about is called, I'll refer to it as inline, and it's basically you drop smaller turbines in a river. There was a report and a very interesting, we'll call it write-up / news broadcast on the country of Bhutan. They've managed to put these inline systems, which is essentially a small impeller inside of a tube, and drop these things in rivers. Now, you still have to get the electricity out of them and into the electrical network, but that little country is now net positive on electricity, and they're selling it elsewhere. That's pretty cool. Now, could it be used everywhere in Canada? Not really. But it is a better technology than, say, wind turbines in the fact that water flow is a little more consistent. Yeah, it ranges sometimes in the summer and the winter, but overall, the speed of a river is relatively consistent compared to the variability of wind. Now, how could we implement it? That's a different picture. That's a different story, but it could be implemented. Anyways, that's my rant about hydroelectric. I'll probably go into liquefied natural gas, LNG, next. Now, where I'm going to tie that back to here is, if you look at British Columbia, LNG projects out to the west coast, Kitimat, Prince Rupert area. There's also LNG projects proposed on the east coast. Now, you need a lot of energy to make LNG, which I'm going to explain how that's done in the next videos. But if you're complaining about putting in dams to get more electricity for LNG, should you be bitching about you need more electricity for electric cars? I'll let you think about that, because as people are pushing towards electricity, as you know from the last 5, 6, 7 videos, electricity is not as green as you think. It's trading energy for energy. No energy is free, okay? It means if you're making electricity, you've got to sacrifice something else. You've got to make heat. You've got to make CO2. And there's losses involved. Anyway, that's my rant for tonight. Hope you found it interesting. Like I said, LNG's next. And to you dumbasses out there, I'm hoping this goes out enough that when you standing up there and start spouting bullshit, people can call you on it. Have a nice night.